In the tunnel. In the tunnel. In the tunnel. You're listening to In the Tunnel.
Hello and welcome to In the Tunnel, episode number 72. Aside from half-closed eyes, you got anything going on?
There's something floating in my eye. I'm trying to figure out what it is. Other than that, yeah, not much is going on. My deck hockey team's in the championship game, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Or the Spooky Ghosts,
Oh.
named after a scene in South Park.
Yep.
So yeah.
All right.
What about you, Sean? What's going on with you?
No, I really have nothing going on. Just work and sleep and this.
Pretty good combination.
Need something else, but hey, that's not here nor there.
Still going back to the gym, right?
No.
Still closed?
Yeah, they only have personal training and small classes allowed.
So we'll just let anybody with money and the access to a class in?
Basically.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get straight to it.
Sure.
So we have first we're going to touch up on the NFL situation specifically surrounding Washington. So you want to start on with that?
Oh, sure. So, they ended up just not choosing anything for at least this year, which is, leave it to that former R-based word organization to do the dumb stuff that they always do and just make it worse.
Oh my god, when I saw that they were just going to be the Washington football team, I was like, they could have done really bad, but also they could have done way better. Like, I feel like that's just like a cop-out, but not, it's not that terrible.
Well, there's been that famous line in business, when all your options are taken away from you, don't fight for any of them and then just instead go with the generic version.
Yeah.
Notice how that is not a real thing.
But also, I kind of understand because, changing, if you change the name too much, you then have to look at changing the color scheme and all that BS. So, I mean, there are certain situations, if you don't keep red in your name, you're probably not going to have the same color scheme.
Well, I think part of the reason why they ran into trouble was because of the word red being attached to what they were doing. If they were just the skins, it wouldn't have been a big deal.
Yeah.
Now they're just changing it to animals, which once they learn how to talk and speak in English, they'll have to go through the whole fucking thing again. Because it's going to be like, hey, we don't want to be associated with this shitty 8-8 team. we ruled in forests for, 9 generations as red wolves, hunting on prey, and now you're just demoralizing us. Yeah, you've just taken away our will to do anything.
Yeah,
and we just walk outside the Capitol building, hooves in hand, or I'm sorry, head in hooves, and think about diving into the pool.
All right.
Um, so yeah, and with that change comes the New Jerseys, which just takes the word of the old team and replaces it with Washington.
Yep.
Takes the logos off the shoulders
Yep.
and
And the helmet.
slaps the helmets now have numbers on them instead of logos,
Yep.
which is not a bad look
No.
if you're Alabama. But for everything else, it's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Especially because they'd be the only team in the NFL to do that.
Are they?
Put numbers on the helmets?
Yeah. Okay. No, usually the numbers are on the back of the helmet, right? Sometimes. I think I've
Correct.
seen it.
Something tells me that they're going to be on the back and side.
Yeah, okay. All right.
But,
All right. Yeah, but that's about it for football because they really
no. And then there's the other part, which is the Reddit user discovery that after all this, that Washington actually might have a new name in mind anyway, as they, if I read it correctly, the registry company that handles all the domains for the NFL teams owns all 32, registered the website DC Sentinels. So
Okay.
that seems to be the lead candidate for what the new name was.
Okay.
And I'm not exactly sure,
I mean, again, I think it could be a lot worse.
Depends on what a sentinel is to them, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, aside from this Washington stuff still going on, the NFL has really done nothing except for cancel some games. Preseason games, mind you, but literally they've done absolutely nothing about this COVID situation.
Don't see that changing.
Yep, so now there's no preseason games, or is it 2?
Preseason games at all. They changed it from 2 to 0.
Yeah, it went from 2 to 0.
Which is going to be great for injury. Week 1, everybody is going to get hurt.
Everybody.
And if those who don't will get injured in week 3.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna allow an extended roster due to this stuff. If it's still
might be bigger.
Okay, yeah. If it's
I don't know about
going
anything in terms of active roster. Practice squad might be like 20 people instead of 9, but
yeah,
whatever the size limit is. But
yeah,
I don't know. This one's interesting. As we've seen, outdoor leagues are not faring well. And we'll touch on that a little bit more in a couple minutes. But the NFL, there's only so many green fields outside of living on a farm that you can have where you can play football and be in a bubble. And that's just, I mean,
especially
with the size of the rosters, it's just too big for housing people.
Especially with how many games are played at the same time due to scheduling. Like, even though the other outdoor sports not doing so well, right? They literally can play any day of the week, right? It's just always been their schedule, right? With the NFL, they literally only play on Sunday. I mean, they're probably going to have to change that in some way if they want to even look at some type of hub.
I mean, but the thing is, if they don't do a bubble, playing games not on Sunday is worse.
No. Because I'm saying if they want a bubble, they probably still have to look at playing games not on Sunday.
Or fucking finding acres and acres of land and building.
Yeah, but that's probably not going to happen.
But I guess the only thing that is kind of a consolation prize for the NFL is playing only on Sundays means guys who get the virus only miss
2 weeks.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
In terms of the season, they still play, especially now that the season is was it? The season doesn't go for 18 weeks until next year.
Next year.
Okay, so they still play 15 or
16.
14 of 16 games.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on bye weeks.
Yeah. All right. So let's look at the other. Well, so let's first touch on the NHL before we move on.
And then we take a nap.
You can take a nap, dude.
No, I cannot.
All right.
Stupid.
So big news in the NHL is Seattle actually has a team name.
Yeah, and we neglected to create graphic because that's on me for doing this on a Friday night. I even had a plan for all the graphics this week to be Seattle inspired, but nope, I screwed it up.
So they are going to be known as the Seattle Kraken. My dad, when I told him this, conveniently asked my uncle, "What the heck is a Kraken?"
It's the tequila company.
It's a rum, actually.
Rum Springer?
No, Kraken is a rum.
Rum Springer.
Also, it's an
Well,
octopus.
it's what all the Amish people drink when they want to get wild. Rum Springer.
Also, it's basically a giant octopus.
Imagine if we had listeners in Amish country.
Oh God!
I think that would be a good sign for us. It was like, hey, they gave up all the electronics, but then there was still us.
All right.
Some Amish
Anyway,
guy just,
let's stop ostracizing another way of living, I guess. And
Talking about ostriches now?
all right, moving on. Let's look at the we're gonna look at both the NBA and NHL bubble setups for games.
In the bubble.
So we are right now. We have a let's talk about the NHL bubble setup.
Like it.
There have been a couple of preseason games, and they've all gone pretty well. I think for that setup.
Except for the one that the Penguins lost.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about results of the game. I'm talking about how the game's played.
Okay, well, you said they went pretty well, so.
Yes, because on the other side, I'm glad the Penguins lost.
Okay,
No.
You know what, Sean? I thought we shared a mutual hatred for the Flyers.
Yes,
here,
we
but,
do. I'm joking.
You know what, Sean? I don't know that you're the right person to do this podcast with. It only took me 72 episodes to figure it out. It's only been 2.5 years of doing this shit.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think we both think that the arena's set up pretty well.
So I watched a video yesterday, sorry to interject, from the NHL. The guys who created the set, they said, unlike other bubbles with the NBA and stuff, they were not going to emphasize virtual fans to make it look like there were people in the building.
Right, and I think that was the right decision.
Correct. They said they weren't trying to fool anyone into thinking that the building wasn't empty.
Yeah, I mean, the building still wasn't really empty. You still have all those extra COVID players around the stadium. Okay. I know.
Let's not refer to them as extra COVID players. It implies that players with coronavirus are just wandering around the stadium. The taxi squad players.
Practice squad. Extended practice squad due to coronavirus.
Correct.
Okay.
The ones feasting off free meals.
Yeah. And the setup looks really nice. They just cover the seats with some banners basically, and they have the team banners coming down on the opposite side of where the cameras are. It looks really nice, actually. Yeah,
they actually built a set. They built gigantic display boards that frame the whole thing.
Yep.
Which the NBA did too, but not in as much
detail.
Not as spread apart.
Yeah. And from what we know of their accommodations in the bubble and their testing requirements, it seems like it's going pretty well so far, according to what some of the players have said.
Yeah, we watched a couple vlogs.
We watched a couple vlogs, read a couple of things.
We watched a vlog from a third-string goaltender for the Maple Leafs.
Yep.
And he told us everything that you need to know about a player who sits in the crowd instead of on the bench.
Yep.
And he made sure to show us the room service menu.
Mm-hmm. Even though he's vegan. And he has one option.
He made sure to show us how real the adjustment is from living in Toronto to living in a hotel in Toronto. It was like the one guy in the NHL who was vlogging about this stuff was the guy with the least adjustment to make.
Yep.
He literally probably like took a cab to the hotel.
Yeah.
He made sure to show us that the Toronto Maple Leafs sent a duffel bag full of Maple Leaf shirts, which is like, okay. As if they were going to send,
looks like,
yeah.
It looks like the NHL sent the masks for the team, or the teams all had the masks for the team. In his vlog, there was also the room already came with a couple of pictures of his family, I guess, which Sean and I share different opinions. I think it's a nice gesture. It's really little that you can do to make it, not monotonous of just a standard hotel room.
But I think it's weird to go through everybody's, social media and stuff like that, and then start printing pictures.
Yeah, but again, they didn't actually they could have just asked these people, right?
Why can't you just use the picture that was in the wallet, like that generic, him and her picture where they're sitting on a beach or looking into each other's eyes, and you're like, oh yeah, this wallet was $8.
Oh my god! Wow. I think it was nice.
And that's pretty much how love works.
Oh, also
at the end of the day, love costs $8.
Also, there was the Panthers are in Toronto, right?
No, they're in Florida.
For the bubble, damn it, stop. Yes.
Well,
okay.
I'm setting you up for a good transition to what happened.
It's terrible. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, at their hotel, the hotel staff, instead of putting the Florida Panthers for, I think it was pregame breakfast or something for the team, they put the Carolina Panthers.
Well, look, before you have your coffee, you'd think that the Panthers were in Carolina, too.
Not in Toronto. Toronto is
correct.
One of the...
That's the one thing that we share is the stupid part of this, is that, as I said to Sean in our pre-recording meeting, if this happened, anywhere in the United States, I get it. Yeah. Because football is a bigger sport. But in Toronto, it's just not.
No. Literally, this can happen in, the middle of nowhere in Iowa, and I'd be like, okay.
It would make sense there, because Iowa only has one sport, and that's football. And it's the University of Iowa.
And this also, this happens in one of the most major cities in Canada, and Canada does not care about American football.
Well, Canada doesn't care about, other cities in Canada.
Yeah, so that was just, I think that was just, really bad of a mess up.
Yeah, well, it happens to everybody, right?
Yeah, so...
happens every time they create a bubble.
I mean, there's only been 2 so far. 3, sorry.
Nope, no, only 2, right? Oh, yeah, MLS. That doesn't really count.
So anyway, let's move on to look at the NBA and its bubble. So first things first, completely different.
Mickey waffles?
Cardboard dang cutouts that look terrible.
No, they're not cardboard.
Oh, they aren't?
No. It's a visual board, a gigantic TV board that spans the whole court, and they have people call in and they put their webcam they have fans on webcams and they place them on backdrops that are big seats.
I don't know if they have a shortage of fans, but there's literally the same guy in this, or the same pictures, like 3, 4.
Oh
That's
yeah, you probably have a bandwidth problem in the bubble.
okay
Walt
because it's
Disney does
literally
not.
it's
Walt
this,
Disney does not give a shit about the bubble. Mickey Mouse ain't coming with an IT guy anytime soon.
but the picture is literally the same section. What, 5 times, 6 times, 6 times?
Well, keep in mind, this is a blank court that
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at. This picture is not from during a game.
Yeah.
These are all fucking tests.
Yep. It's just like I don't like this at all. Like we
I don't
understand.
mind. I don't mind it, but if I had to choose, I'd take the NHL one.
Yeah, but like we understand there's no fans there because there can't be. So why are you trying to say that there's fans there? Also, like I
Um,
mean, aside from that, it's a standard arena. Like the court's okay. It's
well,
whatever.
the bench areas are different. The bench areas are different in that they
Yeah.
put the seats apart, and also the scorers table is surrounded in plexiglass.
Yeah, I see the score, like the scores table surrounded in plexiglass. I don't see why they need to like separate the bench so much if they're all in the bubble, right?
Yeah, I mean, I get why they do it, but then if you think about it, it's like,
They're all in
you know,
contact with each other
if
anyway.
you're in the game and you sub out and you're just like, unless you're sitting next to somebody who's not playing in the game at all,
Right,
the
which,
damage is already done.
but I mean, that's why you surround the scorers table in plexiglass because the only time they have contact with the players is during the game, and you don't need to expose them to the players, right?
Correct.
But the rest of the players are in contact with each other, so why are you separating them so much when they're literally just gonna go sit down next to each other and eat dinner or go work out next to each other in the hotel or whatever?
High five each other. Just like how in hockey, after we've seen the exhibition games, how they're still like doing the hug after goal celebrations,
Yeah, but they
which is,
can.
which is a nice. Well, because when the pandemic started, it was like nobody touched anybody.
Yeah, but if they're all gonna quarantine themselves and not like reduce contact to everything, like you can, have the group that's literally only in contact with each other
Mm-hmm.
have a little bit more leeway in terms of.
I guess. I really thought that they were just going to be a little bit more strict with this shit, and they clearly haven't been.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's fine. I
In
think
both bubbles, I should say.
I think because they are literally only going to be in contact with each other, and the NHL has a giant list of who's in what group of contact with the players, right? Where the players are contact group 1, where they're always in contact with each other, and then you have like tiers of contact, like the scorers and the on ice officials. They'll
Mm-hmm.
only be in contact with the players during the games, and then you have the off ice officials and stuff like that, where they are literally defining what tiers these, like, they're tiering the groups of people, and saying how they're testing them, which is, we saw that during our pre-recording meeting too, and I think that's like, at least it's out there. I tried to find it for the the NBA, but I couldn't really find much.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, the NBA player that had a vlog pretty early on of just what the amenities they have in the resort are.
Tease? The Sixers guy or the Lakers guy? Which one were you
I
watching?
think we watched the Sixers guy.
Yeah, I've been watching both, but
Okay.
that
Yeah,
dude can dunk.
yeah, but I think like the amenities for the NBA players are pretty dang good.
Yeah, now that they have a breakfast buffet.
Mhm.
So what we also found out, and I found out through the JaVale McGee vlog, he plays for the Lakers, is part of the reason why the food sucked was because players like him, they were basically giving, they allowed the players to say, uh, if you have special diet, vegan or vegetarian stuff like that, that was, they'd make meals for you based on that. So part of the shitty food was like these guys were eating like fake burgers that were not good. So I was like, well, yeah, very few brands are. It's like Beyond Beef or it's called, the plant food burger, but after that, it's like shit.
Yep.
And those Beyond Beef ones, they taste good, but they smell sulfur.
Yep.
Have you ever had one?
Yeah, I had the Impossible one.
Those are good.
Yeah. I mean.
So anyway, pick up your Impossible Burger today. Only available everywhere.
I mean,
gas station, whatever.
I mean, I still don't think that like that shouldn't have been the only contributing factor to saying the food was bad, right?
Correct, but it's all about documentation, and on social media, that's where it was documented as being bad.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, aside from that, like again, I just think from what I've seen of the NHL and NBA. Didn't the NBA players already invite girls into the resort or whatever also?
Yep. And by the way, nobody took ownership of who that was. People on the internet did deep dives of who was following the girl and who the girl was following. And apparently like the one player where it was like mutual. I think played for the Magic or something. I don't know, but regardless, like, denied that it happened.
Okay.
Like, fully denied it. And then, yeah. So, it was a funny thing. Especially because if you look into her profile, she's like, her Instagram says that she, like, lives in LA.
Yeah.
Which is, like, I don't know where she lives, but,
it's not LA.
Yeah.
At least not at the moment.
If she got invited to the bubble like 5 days in and had to take a flight down, that's a little bit too thirsty.
Yeah.
For an NBA player, even.
Yeah. So
then there's whatever James Harden's going to do with a strip club. So, because apparently he lives and dies in one.
I mean, and that's
and then we had Lou Williams of the Clippers, who left the bubble for a quote unquote family emergency. Went to Atlanta and was seen at a strip club, but he's saying, and apparently it's well documented, that the wings at the strip club are like the best thing ever. So, and he was wearing like the mask that they gave the players in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
So he can't say it wasn't him. But it was like he left Orlando to go to Atlanta to get some wings.
And see, that's why I like.
He better have gotten enough to bring it back to Orlando, because now he has a 10-day quarantine.
But yeah, this is my problem. Like, I feel like the NBA
This is
players,
your problem?
The NBA players are not taking this any bit seriously.
I mean, some aren't, some are. Like, Dwight Howard is notorious for being against vaccines. Also owns snakes, so that's a little bit of a red flag for anybody, not just NBA player, but for anybody when you say you own snakes, plural. So yeah, I'd say that the thing is, what's good is that it's an indoor sport.
Yeah.
So any chance of it being airborne, because there's still up and down scientific proof and disproof to if it's airborne or not. So it's a controlled environment. It can be negative pressure or stuff like that in there, which is unlikely, but you get what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
And B, the fact that there's been 0 positive tests in almost, 2+ weeks now?
Yeah.
So that speaks very well. So as long as people aren't leaving the bubble, they should be okay.
Right. And that's why, like, these two indoor bubbles have an advantage, in my opinion.
Well, yeah. Baseball, and we talked about this.
We'll talk about it in a second.
More. Yeah. But baseball fucked it up.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, like, okay, so if you had to choose between these two bubble setups, like, complete with accommodations to how the games are played, which one would you choose?
That one's tough because in terms of accommodations and general life outside the game, the NBA and the fact you're in
Hands
Disney
down.
World,
Yeah.
hands down. But where they're playing NBA games and practicing is just so fucking boring.
Yeah.
And just so, like, look at this. Aside from the lighting coming down from the ceiling, it's basically
It's
just
black.
like a dark room.
Yeah.
It's so fucking dismal. It's so depressing and demoralizing that I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And plus, I don't give a look. It's so bad to say this about fans, especially when we are fans of sports. If I'm a player, I don't give a fuck about the fans virtually being there.
Yeah.
I'd rather make this shit look like a movie scene and let's get to work.
Right. And
I mean, they basically make the NHL arenas look like the Winter Classic indoors.
Yeah. And that's like the thing, right? The NBA so far, from what we know, takes the cake on the out of game living conditions, hands down, right? But the NHL takes the cake on the during and around game conditions, hands down, right? And like it might be a product of where they're at, right? Because the NHL has to take 2 separate hotels, whereas the NBA chose to be in a Disneyland resort where they literally could just cram everybody.
Well, no, the NBA has different resorts on the premises.
On the premises, but they're not leaving those like they're still in the same area, right? Where in the NHL, you're in a hotel, 2 hotels in a major city, and you're taking buses to get to the one arena.
Correct. Again, though, at the same time, the NHL disclosed to the world where players were going, or each team was going to be.
Yeah.
The NBA did not.
Yeah.
So, as far as we know, and that's where you say that they are cramming together, because we were never disclosed anything other than that they were all going to be together. Whereas the NHL basically said we're going to make the most out of, what we can do in Toronto and Edmonton.
Yep. And so as a fan, I like the NHL's conditions more.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, except for the group thing.
Yeah, but I'm talking
the fact that some people who are in limited contact get to go home every day. Yeah, is a little bit sketchy.
I mean, I'm glad that they disclosed this stuff, and I agree with you. It's slightly sketchy, but I think it'll take some time to see how this is going to play out.
Yeah, they're worst case scenario, they can just put staff that are in a limited contact capacity in the hotel.
Yeah, if they really need to.
Yeah, or they can just get a third hotel.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think they already have a third hotel for the on ice officials and all. Because I know that they're not with the players.
Makes sense. Which, by the way, since it's today Saturday and it's now 11:57 a.m., games start in 3 minutes for the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
For NHL.
Yep.
So get your bubble action ready.
Yeah. Yeah. So as a fan, I would pick the NHL, but if I were to have to live through it right now, that was terrible. I would pick the NBA, I think, based on what we've seen from the vlogs of the players.
Just hope I didn't hit the ceiling.
I don't remember. But yeah, so based on what we've seen for the vlogs of the players, I'd pick the NBA as far as conditions inside the bubble.
But the NBA makes just so much more money because they have China in their back pocket too for fans.
Yep.
If the NHL had, China fans, they'd have billions and billions of dollars too.
I mean, NHL has finally started expanding to China because they had that one team in the KHL, right? And they did play in China last year.
Yeah, in Shanghai or whatever it is.
The KHL team is Red Star Kunlun or something like that. I forget.
Sure, why not? All the Red Wings players.
All right, so let's move from two successful bubbles to a train wreck. What do you say?
Sure, and not a bubble.
Yeah, but I didn't call it a bubble. I called it a train wreck.
True, you did.
All right, so if you can't figure it out, we're talking about the MLB.
I thought we were talking about the NHL. Or not NHL, NFL. There's too many leagues with acronyms, man.
All right,
I am
so
just a lowly graduate school student who's 2 semesters away from a master's. I don't know how the words work.
all right, so let's just see. Let's see. Okay, so Manfred warns 2020 MLB season could shut down.
Yeah. A good thing to do when 5 teams in the league have tests or MLB players and coaches and stuff testing positive is to slap everybody on the wrist and say, no, do better, and we're not going to stop you from not doing anything.
Like, when Manfred comes out and says, hey, we can shut down, that's a problem.
Yeah. Put a Band-Aid over it. There's no way they're going to take it off.
Oh my god. Okay, and then the Marlins partied in Atlanta prior to outbreak. Guys.
Before this season, going to Atlanta and then going back to Miami to play baseball. What a great idea.
Great idea.
Who would have thought that one would fucking be a stupid thing that fails? And of course it ended up being, because I hate to, or I don't hate to, but I don't live off of hating on Florida, but this is such a Florida thing to do. It's like, oh yeah, just, we're so bored of being at the beach, let's just fucking go to Atlanta and take the party with us.
I mean, Florida's also experiencing their own pandemic. So,
yeah, it's called stupidity.
And the other thing is they're trying to bus players from Philly for some reason. Why?
Because the Marlins series was going to be in Philly. And the real problem with this is finding someone to volunteer to drive a bus full of sick people across multiple states.
Bad idea.
Really bad idea.
Uh,
Just put them up in a hotel and wait a couple weeks.
Yeah. Just from these 3 great article headlines.
Yeah, great articles. Absolutely wonderful. 2 thumbs up.
We can see that the MLB season is going off spectacularally.
Sure. Can't find a flaw in it at all.
Yeah, it's not
At this rate, this is the Pirates' best year to win a championship. Yeah, because everything around the league is just going to burn in flames.
It's not like, the Phillies are also in quarantine from coaches and things having COVID. I'm pretty sure Texas teams have that issue also. Miami, as you're seeing.
Of my Yankees.
The Yankees, yes, that was from before the season even started.
No, it was not.
Oh yeah.
Here, let's read through these. Multiple Cardinals players, staffers test positive as of an hour ago today. The Phillies had no positive tests for players after Friday, but they were the ones that played the Marlins in the first series.
Yep.
Let's see. A guy on the Marlins opted out of the season. A guy from the Orioles, unfortunately, just got traded to the Marlins about 11 hours ago.
Good job.
Let's see. Clayton Kershaw finally got activated, so he can stop getting those Yahoo fantasy alerts saying he's injured. 19 Marlins players tested positive.
Great.
As of a day ago. Cardinals-Brewers game postponed due to the positive tests.
Even better.
The Phillies-Blue Jays series was postponed I'm going back a few days here.
Yeah, there's a lot of postpones happening, and that's why we're not even going to cover freaking fantasy in our slides, because, like...
Even though we've been dominating fantasy.
Like, but every day it's, hey, this guy's game's been postponed. Hey, this guy's game's been postponed. Hey, this guy's not playing today.
And here's another reason why the MLB fucked up with not doing a bubble and not, starting a season earlier, was because they didn't plan for this.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to get a season in. They didn't plan for outbreaks, and postponing series to take time. So now there's games that have to be made up later, and how are they going to do it? Because they basically, don't have the time.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe it should have been, and this sounds a little fucked up, maybe it should have been teams that have an outbreak should just automatically be eliminated from the playoffs. And then because they're not going to be able to make up the games without conflict anyway, it's consequences to the action.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you don't want to win the ring, then go ahead. Go party in Atlanta. But, if you want the ring, you got to basically make your own team at least a bubble.
I mean, I just think, like having the entire team or most of the team party in Atlanta prior to COVID just shows that your upper management and the players and everybody in that organization just doesn't care.
And let's also not forget, in order to go from Miami to Atlanta, this wasn't like one car.
No, it was a couple.
Especially with, we got plenty of people there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was either... it's hard to believe that the staff were not in the know.
Yeah.
So, like coaches, stuff like that, they were definitely in the know.
Yeah.
And did nothing.
Yep. The other thing is, like, they're still so far spread apart, I feel like, in the MLB, right? Where you have the benefit of, at least for the NHL and NBA, right? Everybody is in close enough where they use the same facilities to play, right? But in the MLB, nobody uses the same facilities. It's like they still have home and away facilities.
Exactly.
So like, it just makes it worse, right? You're exposing people to others that they don't necessarily need to be exposed to because you want everybody to have home and away facilities.
Right.
That just doesn't make sense.
They really, and like we said the other day in our pre-recording meeting, they really could have done a bubble with baseball. They really could have.
There's
complexes everywhere.
But also,
where this could have been done.
You need a couple of stadiums. Like, you could still be in Florida and create a pseudo bubble. There are enough complexes with all the training facilities around there.
Right. But the only thing is, unlike at Disney World, you can't be on one property and replicate the bubble. That part I do understand.
But
so players are still gonna get out and about in town.
Right.
And they're gonna be surrounded by people who live in those towns.
But that's fine. But also, like, they are not restricted. Like, they can cancel interleague games in baseball and separate them like the NHL does to like, limit, like, again, lower all of these people in one area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, as much as they can't, like, they play an outdoor sport, their facilities aren't close enough to, have a full-on bubble. They don't, like, all these things I get. But they could have done. There's still a lot they could have done better.
Absolutely, and they fucked it up.
And now players are paying for it, but I mean, it's also kind of the players' fault too, especially in the Marlins situation.
Kinda, yeah, it is the players' fault.
I mean, it's
They're
not only the
playing-
players' fault. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's still plenty of blame to be passed around here, but this play could at least have worked better than to have started day 3 of the season if players take it seriously.
Yep.
They didn't.
Yeah. So
They got on Twitter. They said, MLB, give us this, the fans deserve a season. Tell us when and where. And then they went out and partied, and they didn't care.
yep. I mean, again,
So they said that we deserved a season, but apparently not enough to warrant it being a season that lasts.
but also like you can't like some players definitely care enough. It's just like
Oh yeah, some, but those players can't control it at that point.
there's too many others that it's not
Yeah.
controllable. So
Oh well.
I mean, I'm gonna write off the basically just write off this MLB season now. Definitely, I was already thinking about it before.
It's like fantasy hockey.
So I mean,
Yeah.
fantasy hockey was going well.
Yeah, we were gonna make the playoffs.
Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, this is like this season's basically written off with the amount of postpones they have to do. Like it's just impossible to follow fantasy baseball right now. So I'm even less inclined to look at the season. Thank God there's no 164 or 162 game season right now. Because I would be
way too much.
even less inclined.
Yeah, well, at that point, they probably would just stop the season because if it was 140 games and they were like, shit, this is game 3, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
But with 60 games, they're like,
I mean, it's still
if
there's
we
still
can go a
50
couple weeks, then it's like 20% of the season's already done.
Yeah, but there's still 50 some games for most teams. So
Yeah, there is.
So yeah, like it's not getting any better anytime soon.
At least for the NHL, so far we have 0 positive tests in their bubble, and it looks as if the playoffs have begun.
They have.
Which, by the way, they're still incorporating local sponsors for both teams on the boards, which I think is interesting.
Are they doing local broadcaster?
I'm watching on NBCSN.
Okay.
On your Xfinity account. But they've split it up. It's Rangers, Hurricanes right now. So you see UNC Rex, you see Spectrum.
Okay.
You see local sponsors, and then Harris Teeter, and then down on the other end you'll see like Syneos Health, which is new. Oh, the Hurricanes just scored.
Yeah. Hey, we can see
A minute and 1 second in.
If you're watching our broadcast, we can actually see that goal that just happened.
Jacob Slavin.
Yeah. So
Defenseman.
I mean, I think that's also a nice touch. Like we know that they're not there, but they're incorporating local sponsors because the people who are still going to watch the game are still, those fans. So that's good.
Is it time to pull Lundqvist? I mean,
Yeah, he has a 0 save percentage right now.
yeah, looks like he doesn't have it. He's got Lady Liberty on his right pad, or on his right arm pad.
Oh, okay.
It's hard to let down Liberty like that.
All right. Yeah. Anything you want to close with?
Hockey's back.
Hockey's back and better than ever.
Ready
now.
to roll. Ready to roll.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time, which hopefully will be in less than 2 weeks.
We'll see how grad school works. The semester's over after this weekend.
So yeah, less than 2 weeks is a definite
Hopefully.
possibility.
And basketball is on the block for a while.
Yep.
Because the court is getting redone wherever we were playing, so.
Okay. All right.
All right.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.